tired of being slow. Now I'm trying to be fast. And life is like, no, you can't do that. What's going on, everybody? Today is another day in the garage. It's super cold out. I don't know why it's even like randomly snowing, but okay. We're gonna be working on the Nova today, and I've got a really big surprise for you guys. I've been taking some time to think about what I want to do with the future of this car. Obviously, to spray it to the moon 5.3 did not work out quite as planned, and it got my brain turning a little bit, because I was thinking we're going to need to spray an awful lot of nitrous through that thing to make it do what I want it to do. Sometimes life just works out that way, where when you're in a position and you're kind of at a crossroads, sometimes the solution is just presented right to you. Recently, a solution was presented to me, and I may or may not have gone and tried to take some advantage of it. This is my new friend, Mr. Spoolie Boy. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I didn't think that this was going to end up happening, but recently I came across a deal, and when I say a deal, I mean a deal. If anybody that knows me knows I won't buy something unless it's a good deal. We got Mr. Spoolie Boy here, and an almost complete hot side for dirt cheap to bolt right onto a 5.3. I'm going to put this thing down because it's heavy. This is a standard 80mm T6 132 AR. It's got the slip fit cover, VS Racing deal. Should work pretty well for what we want to do. We also snagged up the complete Hooker hot side. 2 manifolds, a crossover pipe comes out here. It's going to go into the turbo and should provide us plenty of exhaust gases to spin Mr. Spoolie Boy. That means there's going to be some big changes around here. A lot of them that I'm not looking forward to, but they tell me it'll be worth it. I'm going to tell you guys straight up what's going on with the big block situation. I know a lot of people are upset about it. Oh, just do the big block. You're wasting all this time and energy and blah, 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 blah. What's going on right now is in the background, there's actually a new big block getting built. Brand new block, everything getting assembled, all that. It's going to take some time to get all the parts in and get all that assembled and worked out. What was supposed to happen is once that big block was done, it was supposed to come down here. We were going to hand off the 496. It would go back and then get refreshed and be used as a backup motor. Right now, that plan is working in the background, but I'm coming up on races in a couple weeks that I really need to make. I think in order for us to have the best chance of doing anything in any of these races, I need to make some serious power changes and some improvements to the program. For right now, what we're going to do, we're going to go 5.3 turbo, 80mm, fuel injection. I'm going to run over and grab the Holly stuff off the Dodger and let it eat like that. If it ends up working pretty well, maybe we'll consider using the new big block for the Camaro. I'm not sure what all is going to happen. I'm not going to lie to you guys. People keep asking me for answers that I don't have. Mostly because this stuff changes so often, and just trying to make progress and get ahead and then hitting different road bumps, you gotta be willing to change with the program. If you want to race, you gotta be willing to change it up, make different moves and adjustments as necessary. The flip side to this is that once we're done with all this, the Holly system and fuel injection will be on the car, which will make it easier if we want to go to big block fuel injection. We'll already have the computer system and a bunch of stuff, fuel system in place. Before we go absolutely crazy and start tearing this thing apart into a million pieces, getting rid of all the old stuff, putting the new stuff in, the very first thing I want to do is test fit this. I'm told that it will work on a Nova. I've seen pictures of this setup bolted to a 72 Nova, which is ideally the same as the 74, all the suspension and everything. I'm going to get to work on throwing heads on temporarily, moving the intake out of the way, getting these manifolds bolted on, getting everything bolted on, set up, good to go, and we will see if this even fits in the Nova before we start tearing anything apart. You guys wouldn't be hanging out in the garage with me if everything went right like it was supposed to. That could not be a possible outcome of a DNR Auto episode. We got about 10 minutes into fitting this thing, and the area that I was concerned about was right here by the steering gear box, right? Now, I have pictures. Matter of fact, I'm going to prove it to you. Wait for it. Bam! There's a review. Fits great on a 1970 Nova. Look at that. Clearing all that. Clearing all that. Clearing the steering box. Like I was worried about. Not only that, I don't know what in the world this is supposed to fit, but it ain't fitting in there. Now, I could probably try to take it out and finagle it a little bit and everything else. Yeah, but that ain't gonna work, bro. If there was an answer to the solution, or if there was an answer to the problem, this ain't it. A little bit disgruntled. This is the kind of stuff that makes you say, why take all this off? Just put the nitrous back on and run it, and you'll be up and running in a couple days. But they promised me that turbo is the way to go. Don't get me wrong. I've talked to a few of my buddies that have turbo LS cars, that some folks that are tuners, everything else, and this really is going to be the way to go for that little Gen 4 rotted 5.3 that we've got over there. Which, by the way, I did go ahead and paint. Just for you guys, I threw some black spray paint on it, so it will look halfway decent. Oh yeah, got the rings gapped and got this thing back together and assembled again. So got the pistons all cleaned up. For those of you guys that didn't see the live stream, I completely tore down, disassembled, took all the piston rings out, cleaned the inside of the grooves. I cleaned the pistons up themselves. I checked every single bearing. I re-lubricated absolutely everything going back together. And we now have a rotating assembly again. I'm currently waiting on some good parts that should be here within this week to get us rolling on a pretty stout build for this. But this ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. Now we can do one of two things. We can cry about it, or we can find a solution. It's gonna make for a really crappy video because I don't know what the solution is and I don't know how we're gonna get there just yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm smart enough to figure it out. Good news is I bought all of this stuff cheap enough. I bought all this stuff knowing that I could immediately turn around, sell it, and make money. Now, am I going to sell this entire setup? I don't know. I gotta look. I do have dealer deals. You know, I can get some of these parts at a little bit of a discount. I've got nothing against the 80mm. I like that thing. I think it's gonna work well. Even, believe it or not, I talked to Ryan Mitchell about this. Same turbo he had on his deal. He ended up changing it, but he had that on there initially. Man, the struggle continues. After racking my brain on this for a little bit and looking at a couple of the pictures of them installed on other Novas and that kind of stuff, it appears that my engine just sits a little bit lower than everybody else's does. Now on this side it looks like it needs a whole lot of room to go up, but what I'm going to do is disconnect the motor mounts, raise it up, and see just how high up we have to go, and if we even can go that high with the bell housing and everything on the trains. Maybe that'll give us an idea of whether or not this will work. Well, we got it raised up enough to the point where these manifolds would fit. Now over here, this is super clearance, because I'm gonna see if I can't show you guys this, but look at that distance there. I mean, we're talking over a solid inch, if not more, to make up that gap in the motor mounts. Now this side here, the reason it's up so high is it absolutely has to, because just there we're barely touching that. Now yes, I can grind this down probably a little bit and bring us a little bit further down, because this cannot stay like this. Right now we are pinching the dipstick, the trans dipstick. This thing is sitting in an angle crazy. I just don't know that this is gonna be the kit that works for us, especially having to find a way to space those motor mounts so drastically. I mean, we're talking about quite a bit of space here. This ain't like a couple washers and we're good to go. This is some pretty serious space. Now I'm wondering if I go ahead and grind down the head of this and then drop it back down, how much that'll give us. Also, the T6 flange connection pipe that came with it. I don't know what they built this for, because I don't even know what would have that much room that far forward. But where it comes out, you guys can see it would come out there. We would have to do something with like a, you know, with like a complete 180, bring it back, and in order to place the turbo somewhere around this general area. I'm gonna mess with it a little more. I don't want to get to cutting and grinding and everything just yet. I'm going to mess with it a little more and see if we can get it to fit a little bit better than my first initial fit up. But I can tell you there's no way it's going to work like this. We're going to have to be able to bring it down. We have moved this engine up significantly. If you guys can see in there, let's see if I can zoom in. What it ended up doing was stacking 2 of the adapter plates together. I'm not sure that that's going to work. Actually, I know that it's not. What I've ended up doing, there's actually a taller small block Chevy mount that pushes the engine up higher. I've ordered those, and we're going to go ahead and move with that, because you can see now everything starts to clear and it works. Now the down pipe is going to take some adjusting, but we're going to have to be building some stuff anyway. That's going to be the game plan. Now the good news is a bunch of our motor stuff came in for our new engine, a bunch of our new parts. What I'm going to do is we're going to take these heads off, and I've got a good straight edge that was machined for me. We're going to check the surface. Calm down, dog. We've got a pile of new parts sitting here that I ordered up for this engine. First thing I want to address is the heads. Unfortunately, as good as this engine was, we got the bad heads. Some of you guys know there's 2 different styles of 706 heads. One of them is prone to cracking and having issues. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the old heads, we're going to check the surface for flatness. If they check out okay, then we're going to use those. If those don't check out okay, then we're going to have to go ahead and use these. It's a give and take. You know, I don't think that the 706 head flowing better is going to make that much of a difference when we are forcing air into the engine. We also went ahead and got ourselves a new camshaft. This is stage 4 turbo cam. It is a 228, 230, 600, 600 lift, lobe separation 113, intake center line 110. Bam, nice and easy. I also talked to a good friend of mine who has done a number of these builds and made over 1,000 horsepower on them regularly. He also tunes them. Shout out Slower Than You, Derek. You know who you are. I've been texting him, bugging him about stuff. He suggested a few parts and pieces that I go ahead and get to make this thing live. First thing up, we have a GM Performance oil pump. We want to make sure we're getting good oiling. GM Performance deal, nice and easy. Got a set of LS7 lifters, so those are brand new. We also balled out and got a set of really good head studs. I'm not sure if the head studs that I have, if I stretch them or not, or what the deal is with lifting the head. So better safe than sorry. This is one of those things. He said get head studs, get LS7 lifters, get a good oil pump. Other than that, you know, he told me the gasket, he told me get some push rods, get some springs. I already have some of that stuff, so we didn't have to get that. We got assembly lube to make it all right, and I just got myself an El Cheapo gasket kit, so that way the timing cover gasket, some of the different gaskets we can use brand new and hopefully have good luck sealing it all up and not have any issues. I'm going to go ahead and start slamming this thing together. We've already done the ring gap. We've already put all the bottom end back together as far as the rotating assembly. Rings are gapped, surface is clean. We're going to clean it again one more time. We're going to go through the whole thing, start putting in some head studs, get this thing the rest of the way assembled with the cam, the lifters, all that. So I guess first things first, actually before I sit down and jump into this, I got to pull the heads off that one, check them, so let's do that first, and then if those check out, I'll lay out everything and have a nice easy assembly that we could do over a sweet little time lapse. After doing a little bit of cleaning and checking everything out, shout out to my buddy Paul, who made me my block and head fuckulator detector. Worked very well. Checked everything over. Everything appears to be pretty level. Everything's good to go. So I think now is going to be the time when I go ahead and kick this thing into overdrive and we get ourselves assembling the rest of this block. we've got the long block mostly assembled. I still got to put the valley cover on it. I still got to put the timing cover on it. I got to get the oil pan on it and the pickup tube and all that stuff, but that's coming off the other motor that's in the car right now. Good news is, I will show you guys here, we received our new engine mounts. Bam. Not a huge difference. I think we need a huge difference, so hopefully that's enough to make up the difference we need. That's what I'm really hoping, because the one thing that I don't like is that, as if you can see, our mount is thicker. So it is what it is. We will probably go ahead and put those on now and continue to test fit with this engine that's in here, just so that way we can make progress as needed. This video actually kind of took me like over a week to film because I've been sick, and then I went, well, what happened, I started with, I needed some parts, whatever, but then there was a great deal on a fiberglass front end for the Camaro, so I went over and grabbed that, threw it over on the car just to see what it would look like. It looks pretty good. Got a killer deal on that, and then after that I came home and I just wasn't feeling very well. Next couple of days I spent with a fever and just not feeling good at all. Ended up getting over that. I'm good to go now, and that allowed me to kind of order some stuff and allow some time for some parts to catch up to where we needed to be. So I'm going to take the 706 heads, slap them on here real quick. We're going to throw those new motor mounts on, see if that works. These motor mounts are a pain in the butt to get in, but we're going to see if that works, and if that gets us the height we need to be at, then we will know everything from that point on is good to go, and we can start working on building turbo kit, figuring that kind of stuff out. So all that would really be left is, you know, swapping the motors and then building the turbo kit. I'm not sure if I want to do that with the junk motor in it or if I want to do it with the new motor. Haven't decided yet. Doesn't really make much of a difference because they're both the same thing. They're going to fit the same way. So let's get these new motor mounts on and see if that clears up our issues with turbo header fitment. Man, I really hope it does, because if it doesn't, it's just going to be a whole lot of work. Honestly, if it doesn't, we may just can this whole thing, at least this turbo setup, and do up and forwards. The reason I didn't want to do up and forwards, and what I like about this, is that it allows you to use the factory spark plug wires and everything all in factory location. Makes that super simple and really nice. I would like to keep it that way, but if I have to, we'll go ahead and order up and forwards, which is going to suck because then we'll be down a few more days waiting on parts. But I guess we still have to do wiring. We still got to do fuel system. I got to get up with Snake Eater. They're going to get me a new fuel system out on the way. There's a bunch to be done no matter what order we do it in, and I think anywhere we're held up on parts, we can just go ahead and start figuring something else out. Like the whole wiring, the terminator has to come off the Dodger, so there's some work there. But I really want to get most of what I can done the very best way and the very most quickly and efficiently we possibly can, so that way hopefully we can be ready in 2 weeks, because in 2 weeks is my first SHITBOX no prep race, English Mountain, April 15th and 16th at English Mountain down in English Mountain Raceway in Newport, Tennessee. I put that in my community tab, so if you guys look over there, I made a post about it that has the date, the information, all that kind of stuff. I'd really, really love to be down there and running. Maybe we won't be tuned and it won't be the best it can possibly be just yet, but I have a buddy there that can help me. I've got buddies, you know, that'll be able to help out, so we'll be able to make progress and hopefully see this thing go down the track with turbo power. That is, if all the parts show up and everything goes according to plan. We'll just have to wait and find out, see what happens. I wish that I could say that I've made some sort of significant progress, but these motor mounts will not line up. They're taller, which helps, but now that they're taller, the holes don't line up. I've tried it from both sides, putting one bolt in one side, one bolt in the other. If you come look at this, they're close, but I can pry it up and it looks like it would line up, but I physically can't pry any more to one side or the other. It just doesn't, it won't go enough to one side or the other. All this was in an attempt to make that turbo stuff work. I don't know that that turbo stuff is now going to work because I can't get a motor mount situation. Is there another one? I'm sure there's another different set of motor mounts or whatever. I thought about even trying to slot these slightly, like some motor mounts have some adjustment, they're slotted, but slotting them would take away from the whole point of what we were trying to do anyway, which is raise the motor up to make this fit. I can do one of a couple things. First I'm going to keep fighting with this. I've been fighting with it for a couple hours, going back and forth and changing and trying it different ways and everything. I'm going to fight with it a little longer before I throw in the towel on these mounts. Then we can either put the old mounts back on. Well, the old mounts are going to have to go back on, I guess. We're either going to have to slot these. The old mounts are going to have to go back on. If the old mounts go back on, that turbo setup is not going to work. We have already been down this road that doesn't fit. If that turbo setup doesn't work, I could possibly do the up and forward headers and mate them all together and do all that. It's going to be more work than was originally planned, which is kind of why I got that stuff, to save myself time so we could get this done quickly and efficiently. I don't know. I'm not quite sure where we're going to go with this just yet, but it doesn't make sense to switch the fuel injection stuff, the computer stuff, all that stuff over until I have a solution to this problem, because none of that's going to matter if this thing still can't have a turbo strapped to it. Now, after about a week of filming this and being sick in the middle and everything else in between, that's probably going to be it for today's video. I want to get this out. I know a lot of people have been, hey, where you been, where you been, where you been? Like I said, I was sick for 2 or 3 days. That really jammed up a lot of my progress and where I was at. Fortunately, it did help. Like I said, you know, being sick allowed me to wait for some parts to come in. Now that I've tried them, I'm just disappointed because I thought it was going to be the answer, but it's not. So I'm going to keep working on this until we can get resolution figured out. It's hard to say which direction I'm going to go with it because I don't have the answer just yet. Sometimes half the battle is finding the answer, and then you think you have an answer and then you try it and it doesn't work. You know, like I said, maybe a different motor mount combination, but then that's another situation we're going to end up where it's going to take a week for them to get here. So what am I going to do for a week? And then it's not even guaranteed that it's going to work. So if I spend a week waiting for them to get here, plan to do everything with that setup, and it still doesn't work, now I've just done nothing but screw myself. Fighting an uphill battle, just trying to go fast. I'm tired of being slow. Now I'm trying to be fast, and life is like, no, you can't do that. That's all right. We'll figure it out eventually. This is my new friend, Mr. Spurly. Ooh,